going to be a lot of rewriting with the same base. Notice that for this, it said to express as a single log, which means you have to have a single log or a product in your final answer, okay? So for number 1, you're going to have to multiply 12 times 18. Okay, so I just set it up old school. You guys remember how to do this? 8 times 2 is 16. Carry the 1. Put your 0. 8, 1, 6, 11, 216. So you have log base 6 of 216. And then what you're asking yourself is 6 to what power equals 216? So we know 6 squared, right? 6 squared is what? 36. So to get to 6 cubed, just multiply this by 6. And already this turns out pretty nice because you know it's 36. Carry the 3. Okay, yay, so it is. So this would be 3. So your final answer would be log base 6 of 216 equals 3. And that's what you would write down. Okay, on the line is what I boxed in there. Okay, that went well? All right. Number 2, you have minus. So if you have minus, that means you're going to do what with the 2 values? Yes, divide. So you have 256 divided by 64. And really you're just asking yourself, how many times does 64 go into 256? You could also think of it in powers of 2. Yeah, it's 4, but how did you get there? Did you know 64 times 2 was good? You just double it, right? Is 128? Yeah. So then you can just keep adding 64, right? So add 64, and that's 64 times 3. So 12, carry the 1, 8, 9. Okay, that's not what I need. So then 64 times 4, just add 64 again, and then this is looking good. Yay. Okay, so this would be log base 2 of 4, okay, equals, and then you're asking yourself, 2 to what power is 4? Good. So then it would just be equals 2. Yay. What if that was switched around? What if instead, I know you don't have that, but what if instead you had to solve 4 to what power equals 2? What could you do in that situation? You could, but you can't use your calculator. What do you mean? Oh, your answer is a fraction? It will be, yes. But how are you going to do it without your calculator? We write them with what? Not with log. Yeah. Write them with the same base. Can't you rewrite 4 with the base of 2? Yeah, wouldn't this be just 2 squared, like this? Because that's what you're going to have to do a lot of on the no calculator section, right? Okay, so this would be 2 to the power of 2x equals 2. Well, if you don't see the exponent, what is the exponent? 1. So then once the bases are equal, the exponents are equal. So yeah, 1/2. Remember we talked about 1/2 as an exponent means what? No? Yeah, so what? Square root, right? We wrote it down. 1/3 is the cube root. 1/2 is the square root. It's like a special little note box in your notes. Okay, and then for 3, you have to use the product property. So again, it says express it as a product or a single log. And so part of your answer has to have this. You have to put that on the line. Okay, and then you're actually going to solve it. So when you do that, you have to find out what this is. Whenever you have log base 2 of 16, you are answering this question. 2 to what power is 16? That's what the log is. The log is the relationship between the base, okay, and whatever this exponent is going to be to get your value of 16. So 2 to what power is 16? 4. Okay, so that means you have 5 times 4, which is what? 20. So on the line, you would write this whole thing. This is the product. This is what you get when you simplify. Don't forget to multiply that number by the 5. That's something that people forget sometimes, is to multiply it. Okay, and then for number 4, you have log base 5 of 1 over 125 squared. So first thing we'll do is express it as a product. So 2 times log base 5 of 1 over 125. And then that has to be part of your answer. And now we'll go ahead and simplify it. So the part that you're simplifying is the log. 5 to what power is 1 over 125? Now the 1 over should be a big hint that your answer is going to be negative. And 5 to what power is 125? 3. So this will be negative 3. So then when you're doing this, okay, what you're doing is 2 times, this becomes negative 3. So the whole thing is equal to negative 6. So if you were writing this on the line for your quiz, you would write this whole thing. This is the product. This is the simplification. Okay, because your directions said to write it as a single log or a product of a log and then simplify. Okay, so that would be your answer. Yeah. Yeah.
How would we write it down? Is it 2 times negative 3 equals negative 6, or is it with the log?
Yes, with what I boxed in. So 2 times the log base 5 of 1 over 125 equals negative 6. This is just my work for how I got to that answer. Yep, so don't forget to do the multiplication because sometimes people forget that step. Okay, and then 5 and 6 you had to solve. So if you're doing that without a calculator, the only thing that you have is to rewrite with the same base. So you have 1/9 to the 3x equals 27. Okay, is this one pretty clear to see what your base is going to be? Yeah, 3. So 3 cubed is 27, and then 3 to what power is 1/9? Good. And then don't forget, you have to multiply these two. A power to a power means you multiply, so you'll have negative 6x equals 3. And then you're just going to solve. So divide by negative 6, x equals negative 1/2. There you go. Okay, and then number 6, you have log base 2 of x to the 6 equals 3. Okay, so when you're solving this, the first thing you want to do is use your power property. So equals 3. And then you have to get the log by itself before you can rewrite it in exponential form. So how do I move over the 6? You have to divide, because this is times, this is multiplication, so to undo it. And then you have log base 2 of x equals 1/2. Now, once you get to a log, you can always rewrite it in exponential form. That's going to be big. And you have 2 to the 1/2 equals x. And remember, we just talked about if it's to the 1/2, what does that mean? Yep, so it's just the square root of 2. And we would leave it like that, because you don't have your calculator.
Do you put plus or minus?
No, because you did not have to take the square root. The plus or minus will only come in if you have x squared, because then you will actually take the square root. That's a good question. Okay, great. Now let's see how 4.5 went. How did that go? 4.5? Need some work there? Okay, so this says to solve and check where necessary. When you are checking, okay, the only one where I have to see the check is when you have more than one solution. If you don't have more than one solution, you don't have to write the check out. But if you do have 2 solutions or more, you have to write the check out for both of them. Okay? So for 4.5, number 1, this is on your calculator portion. But again, you could ask yourself, can I rewrite those with the same base? And you can't write 20 as 5 to the 4th. Is 5 to the 4th 20? No, because that 5 to the 4th is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Okay, so I think it's 625, right? So with this one, you would have to take the log of both sides. And do you guys like taking the log or the log with the same base? Same base, so log base 5 of 5 to the 3x equals log base 5 of 20. So cancel those out. Now when you do this, what I would do is I would write out my change of base at this step, okay? And then I would do that in my calculator. And then your last step is to divide by 3, right, to get x. And I would do it step by step in my calculator. So I would do the log of 20 divided by the log of 5. I would press enter, and then I would divide by 3. Okay, and then it says to round to 4 decimal places, so this is going to round up to 0.6205. Okay. So something that you'll have to know is the change of base formula. You have to have that memorized. You guys remember how I tell you which one you can remember goes where? Base goes on the bottom. So whatever the base is of the log, it's the log of that on the bottom. Okay? Now, if you wanted to put this all in at one time, you could, but you're going to have to use your parentheses or else your calculator won't use it right. Like, because if you're dividing by 3, you could do 3 log of 5. But if you don't put the parentheses in, you won't get the same answer. Like if you didn't put the parentheses in here. Mm-hmm.
So on the no calculator portion of the test?
You wouldn't have that.
Okay.
Because there's no way for you to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you had something like this on the no calculator portion, this would be 5, this would have to be 25. Yes. Yeah. There's no other way for you to do that. Okay, now this next one, number 2, this one could be of the no calculator portion. So for number 2, you have log base 4 of x to the 8th equals 32. So the first thing you want to do is rewrite this using what rule? Yep. The power rule. And then the power property. And then you are going to divide both sides by 8. Sometimes this is the part that people forget, is that you have to divide it to get the log by itself. And then once you get the log by itself, remember, you can set up the exponential function. Whenever you have a single log, exponential function, exponential function, exponential function, or BAE, right? BAE. So 4 to the 4th equals x. Okay? It is. It's 256, but you guys would probably have to think of it as, do you guys know what 4 cubed is? 64? Okay, so if you didn't, that's okay. It'd be 16, and then 4 cubed, just multiply by 4, right? Carry the 2. 4 to the 4th is just times 4. 16, carry the 1. Yay. Okay, so that would be your final answer. And again, we've only got single answers here, so you would not be required to check any of those at this point. All right, how'd number 3 go? Things are getting real now. Right, the log of x plus the log of x plus 48. Okay, now when you have the log of x and then x plus 48, remember, you're going to have to distribute. So sometimes I'll write it out like that first so I remember. X times x, x times 48. So this is the log of x squared plus 48x. Once you see you have an x squared and an x term, we need to start thinking that this is going to be a trinomial, and I'm probably going to have to factor. I've noticed that this is a spot sometimes where people get stuck. But remember, it's a single log. Anytime it's a single log, try to rewrite it as what?
Base.
Yes, good. Exponential of the base. And then what is the base if you can't see it? 10. Okay, so BAE. So this would be 10 squared equals x squared plus 48x. And then actually do this. 10 squared is 100. Again, this should be a clue, the x squared and the x, that you want to move everything to one side so that you can factor. And when you're factoring, really for this one, it's something that multiplies to 100 but adds to 48. So right away, I think 2 and 50. Is that something you guys think you could come up with pretty quickly? Because it'd be plus 50 minus 2. And then you would have x plus 50 equals 0, so x would equal negative 50. And then x plus 2 equals 0, so x... Sorry, I wrote that wrong. So x equals 2, because you plus 2 plus 2. Okay, now, I have more than one answer, right? So if I have more than one answer, I have to do what? Yes. And you have to check both of them. Okay, so for your check, and you are going to have one where you have to check. That shouldn't be a big surprise, right? Okay, because I told you that you're going to have to do that if you have multiple answers. So if you get 2 answers, part of the points for that problem are going to be checking both of them. So make sure you do both checks so that you don't lose any points. And then you do have to make sure that you are plugging things in. And I'll show you exactly what I'm looking for. Like for something like this, if you want to do negative 50 plus 48 in your head, that's fine. And then once you notice that this is a negative, okay, you can say it's an invalid solution because you can't take the log of a negative. And it'll say, like, hey, you better explain if it doesn't work. If it's not a valid answer, you better explain to me why that doesn't work. Okay? And then don't quit early because you have to check both of them. So for 2, you'd have the log of 2 plus the log of 2 plus 48 is 50 equals 2. And then you just have to show me the next step, which is where this would be the log of 2 times 50, which is 100. And then from there, 10 squared equals 100. Yep. So you could just put a check there.
So Shannon and I were thinking, like, couldn't you take 48 from the 10 squared side and then divide by x and then just get x equal?
No, if you divide by x, then you'll have 100 over x on this side. And then it wouldn't get rid of it.
I was sort of thinking you move the 48 over and then divide by x.
That cancels that.
But you would still have the 100.
So you have to take the x to the 100.
So you'd have 48 plus 100 over x. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so anytime you have an x squared and an x, think trinomial. You want to factor it with the trinomial. Okay? All right, and then number 4 is another one that you can do without your calculator. You have log base 4 of 5 minus log base 4 of x minus 1 equals log base 4 of 12. Now, just deal with one side at a time. So on this side, we know we're going to have division. And then recognize if you have log base 4 and log base 4, we can set these two equal. So this would just be 5 over x minus 1 equals 12. And then if you have x in the denominator, just multiply both sides by the denominator because this will undo each other, right? It's like it's over 1, so those will cancel. And you'll have 5 equals, don't forget to distribute, 12x minus 12. Get all your numbers on one side. Get all your variables on the other. And then you end up with 17 over 12. And again, if you just have 1, then you don't have to plug it in and check it. Yeah.
So like for the no calculator portion, do you just need to add that fraction?
Yes. Yes. Just leave it as that fraction. Yes. Don't make it